Good morning. Hi. Hi, everybody. It's Chris of Light and Joy Designs. And I'm going to be doing a podcast here this morning with you on both Instagram and YouTube. So you can watch it now or even watch it later. It will be recorded for replay. So I'm just getting everything set up here. And as soon as we have a few people join us, I will give you the outline of what we'll be doing, what we'll be covering. Now, some of you, I think, might already be with me, but I'm not able to see you yet. So if you are here, I guess give me a little shout in the comments. Let me know that you're here and that you're excited for this morning. Some crochet and fun stuff. I have some good stuff this week for you. Okay, well, Instagram here is saying, we're telling your followers that you've started a live video. Hang on, we're telling more followers to join your video. So, okay. All right, well, let's get started anyways. The topics that I'm going to be covering this week, I'm just trying to see if I should wait to start the introduction until we have some people on here. I'm going to put in a comment here. If you are on this live, please comment to say hi and maybe where you're from. And let's put that here in Instagram also. Please comment to say hi if you're here. Okay, so my comment showed up. Okay. All right. Well, anyways, I'll get started. So this week, oh, hi, Ava. Good. Somebody's here. Hi. So this week, I'm going to be covering these things. First, I'm going to be covering this week's pattern, which is another square in the Tunisian Squares series. It's called the Tunisian Fancy Square, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. I'm also going to show you next week's pattern, which will be another square. I'm going to show you my crazy sweater that I'm making right now. It's really cool. It's very visually interesting. It came out of the Whip Your Whips video. If you haven't seen that already, at the end, I will have a link to everything in the description. Or you can look that up right on my YouTube channel. It's called Whip Your Whips, and that's about how to take your works in progress, like old ones that you've let go and you've kind of lost interest in them. You can kind of take them and convert them into something else. So I'm going to show you that sweater that came from a totally different project. Then I'm going to give an announcement of a giveaway that I have coming up. And it's a good one. So there's going to be a total of 5 winners. 5 winners total. So there's 5 prizes. And they're all good. And today, the featured pattern that I'm going to be talking about is hat and cowl sets. So I think it's four sets that are matching cowl and hat. So I'm going to show you those. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you something I learned this week, and it's about stories. And in telling you about that, I'm going to tell you a very funny story. So stay tuned for the end for that. So, so I'm not sure if anybody's here on Instagram or not. I'm not showing anybody, but maybe people will join a little later. And if you are joining a little later, you can go back and watch this on record. And by the way, if anybody's interested, this shawl I have on today is called the Radius Shawl, and it is done in Tunisian crochet, and it is it's done in short rows. Now, I remember before I knew Tunisian crochet and before I knew short rows, I used to always think, what's that stuff? That sounds really difficult. That sounds really scary. And I don't have the brain power. I don't have the time to dig into it and figure that out. And what I discovered is Tunisian crochet is easy. Like if you know how to do chains, if you know regular crochet, you can do Tunisian crochet. It's really easy. And then short rows, same thing, super easy. And I have a video for this and a pattern for it. So you can look it up. It's called the Radius Shawl. And I like, even if you're brand new to Tunisian crochet, or if you've never done short rows, I walk you through it every single step by step. Like you can't go wrong. You can be a complete new person and do this. So, all right, so let's get started with this week's pattern, which is called the Tunisian Fancy Square. And this is part of the Tunisian Squares series. So this week's is called the Fancy Square. And I'm going to hold it up close so you can see it. It's a lace pattern. And it's really pretty easy, but it's really pretty. And you could do this, you could even do it in one color if you wanted to, but this is done in 2 colors. I have a second one here. And it would make an awesome, overall pattern for just a wrap, like a shawl wrap or a scarf. If you did this in lightweight yarn, it could have a real nice lacy effect. Maybe you want to make it in a thicker yarn, and that would be cool too. So that's this one. It's called the Tunisian Fancy Square. I'll show you next week's pattern is called X's and O's, and that's this one here. So we're going to learn this one next week. My lighting, I changed location for my podcast, so I'm going to have to figure out my lighting a little better. So that's That's the X's and O's. That's going to be next week. And then if you've missed it, the first week was the Tunisian wave square. Again, if you are a beginner, this is a great pattern to join in on, because it is, you can use a regular crochet hook for this. You don't have to have new equipment. You don't need Tunisian crochet hooks if you want to make just these squares. You just add a rubber band to the end. And again, in my videos, I walk you through things completely step by step. And then last week's was the Tunisian tiles. And this is all of these are 2-color so far patterns. And the reason why you're seeing more than 2 colors is because I'm using a color changing yarn by Lily Sugar and Cream called Country Stripes. So, okay, Heather says, love that square. Where is there a tutorial? Which one are you talking about, Heather? These two, sorry, this one, the Tunisian tiles and the Tunisian waves. Both of these are currently in my YouTube channel, the tutorial for both of these. So just after this is over, you can go in there and you'll see it. It's one of the 2 most recent ones. And then this one, the fancy square, will be coming out most likely tomorrow. I had hoped to have it out this weekend, but we had a power outage yesterday and just kind of threw my schedule off. So, and at the end of the Tunisian Squares series, or actually pretty soon I need to get this up, I'm going to have modular patterns that you can take these squares and, put them together to make a blanket or a poncho or a scarf. So I'll have that in there as well. And the link to that page on my website will be in the description below this video on YouTube. And for Instagram, you can just go to my website, go to the link in my bio, and there will be a link to the Tunisian squares there, and that will bring you to everything you need for that. So that is the this week's and next week's pattern, the Tunisian Squares series. So let me show you next. I want to show you my work in progress name is called Crazy Sweater because it's really kind of crazy. So this is what I have so far. I've got the body done, and I'm working on this sleeve over here. And so this came out of a couple, maybe last week or the week before. I had a video on taking works in progress and converting them and making them into something else. Like, for instance, I'll just show you here. These were some shawls that I lost interest in. I wasn't liking how they were coming out, but I didn't want to rip it out. I put a lot of time into it. So I made it into a cowl by sewing the 2 ends together in a certain way. And that's the same with this one here. This was also a shawl at one point, a crescent shawl. And I lost interest in it because I started making it in another yarn. And I just, I only have so much time to work on different projects. So I wanted to wear it right away. So made it into a cowl, and it's super pretty. So that video is on my YouTube. It's called Whip Your Whips, like whip as in work in progress. So whip your whips into something right away. So this crazy sweater. This was a knit shawl that I was making. It was somebody else's pattern. And I think it was called Phi, Phi. And it's a knit, and it's like a circular shawl. And I just wanted to be working on my own stuff. It's a nice pattern. But I wanted to do something different with it. So at first I started making it into like one of these. Started to make it into sort of like a cape, kind of a cowl thing. And I didn't like how that was turning out. So I was like, oh, wait a second. This can be the yoke for a sweater. So anyways, this is worked using 2 different color changing yarns. And it's worked partially in the round and partially back and forth. And so what I wanted to know is, would you, hello. What I would like to know is, would you be interested in a crazy sweater style pattern? Would this kind of a pattern interest you? Okay. And now, because it is a pattern that is, lean back if you can see it better. Is this something that would interest you? And if so, would it interest you if it was a recipe pattern as opposed to a strict pattern with like, here's your size, here's a size medium, this is how many stitches you do. You just follow the pattern exactly. Whereas a recipe pattern allows you to customize it exactly to your size. So, everybody's body is so different, like you can be a size medium at the waist and a size large at the top and vice versa. So I kind of would like to do it that way. So if you're interested in this kind of a pattern, please let me know in the comments and let me know whether you would be interested in a recipe pattern, or if you would only do it if it was a regular pattern. Let me know what you think. All right. So anyways, that's something you can do with an old work in progress. And I'm actually going to change the neck on this too. I was just experimenting. So that's kind of the nice thing with crochet, is it's easy to take out and redo. And also a nice thing with a top-down sweater is you can hi John. You can customize it as you go. You can try it on as you go and make sure it's fitting you. And if it's not, you can, pull out the last row and redo it. So that's nice. All right, so that's my crazy sweater. Please let me know if you're interested in that. Okay, what's next? All right, the next thing is the giveaway announcement, and this is very exciting. I'm lucky enough to have Denise Sets. Denise Interchangeables is the name of the company. They are going to sponsor this giveaway, and this is going to be the grand prize. It is called the Denise To Go set, and it's the blue flowers. And I believe it's really pretty. I will have a link to this in the description below. And if you're watching on Instagram, I will have a link to the giveaway. If you go to the link in my bio, I'll put this in later on this afternoon. There'll be a link to information about the giveaway. and the set. So that's the grand prize. There's actually 5 prizes all together in the giveaway, and this is the grand prize. And this set has 6 Tunisian crochet hooks and the extensions, the needle, the cords, the extension cords, and the stoppers. And it ranges. It goes 5 millimeter, 5.5. No. Well, anyways, I'm not sure if it's 6 or 7 hooks, but it goes from 5.0 millimeter all the way up to 9.0 millimeter. And it's a really, the Denise interchangeable Tunisian crochet hooks are the best. I love them. They're so great. And this set is really nice. It's got this cloth case, if you will, and it just rolls up and ties with a little string. It's really, really, really nice. Okay, so that's the top prize. The second prize is a free Tunisian crochet course. So on Teachable, I have a Tunisian crochet course. It's called Tunisian from Basics to Beyond. And in that course, gosh, I should have worn that shawl. You will learn to make my Land of the Fairies shawl. And actually, you know, I'm going to run and go grab it right now because I think that you guys will want to see this. Okay, so okay, now my dog has come in here and she so like, you need to go back to your bed, honey. Okay, this is what happens when you go live. All right, so the second prize in the giveaway is my Tunisian crochet course. And in that course, it's called From Basics to Beyond. And I teach you how to make a nice little trivet with all the basic Tunisian crochet stitches. Then I also teach you how to make the Land of the Fairies shawl. This is doubled up. And you can make it in many different sizes. It is a free crochet. It is a free Tunisian crochet pattern. And you can find it on my website. The link will be below, and for Instagram there's a link right now in my bio, and you can actually just search for it. It's called Land of the Fairies, and so that's normally $20 for that course. And you also learn how to make Tunisian crochet mitts, fingerless mitts that are really pretty and nice. So this might look like difficult if you've never done it before, but believe it or not, and my course has 100% money back guarantee, you can be a brand new beginner and you will be able to make this. Okay, guaranteed. All right, so then there will be 2 people. So two more winners will win a choice of a free pattern. I have some of my patterns are $2. I keep my patterns kind of very affordable, but it allows me to at least make a little bit from all this work that I do. So there will be 2 people who will win a free pattern. And then the 5th prize will be a surprise yarn bundle. Hi, Brenda. Thanks for saying hi. So, and if anybody's joining right now, just you'll be able to go back and see the beginning, what you missed. Both of these will be recorded whether you're on Instagram or Facebook. So those will be the 5 prizes, and more information on that will be probably coming out tomorrow. And that giveaway will run probably for about maybe a week or 2 at the most. Then so now we're on to our next thing, which is the featured patterns for this week. And this week I'm showing you all my patterns that are hat and cowl sets together. So the first one is the Tunisian brioche. And I just absolutely love this pattern. Here is the hat. So Tunisian brioche is something where, if you've ever seen knitting brioche, on one side you have, you work in 2 colors. And on one side you have a predominance of one of the colors with kind of the second color peeking through. And then on the other side you have the other color being more prominent and the first color sneaking through. So this hat, and all of these patterns are tutorials on my YouTube. I'll have a link in the description below shortly after this video. So this is called the brioche hat, and if you're looking from Instagram, it's completely reversible. So there's a pom-pom on the inside and the outside, and you can wear it either way. Like so. And then there's also a cowl. These are super easy to make, and I show you how to make them in the tutorial step by step. I love the cowl. This would make a nice neck on a sweater even. You could kind of fold it over. And then this one also comes with, you can make Tunisian crochet, the brioche fingerless mitts as well. So I happen to make these in all different colors, but you can make them in matching colors. You can make it with or without the pom-pom. It's really very adjustable. And then of course the Tunisian brioche, you can use it for, it's a really, really cool pattern to know. You can do so much with it. So it's a great one to get in your tool belt. All right. So that's the brioche one. The second one that I want to show you is also Tunisian. And this is the Tunisian knit stitch. And this one is made in scarfy yarn. In fact, I'm going to take this off. And then this is the hat. So of course you could always put a pom-pom on it if you like. But I mean, this yarn is so soft. Oh my gosh, it's literally probably one of my favorites cowls to wear, because it just, I mean, it almost feels like fur to me. It's really soft. And this hat is so comfy. It doesn't squeeze your head, and it stays on, and it's warm. It's got this nice brim that's actually sewn up underneath. So that's the Tunisian knit hat and cowl. And I will have the link to all of these in the YouTube description below. And for those of you looking on Instagram, I'm going to have a post on my website that will have all the links to everything that I'm showing you here today in the podcast. So that'll be in that link sometime this afternoon. All right, so the next hat and cowl set is this one. Let me put the cowl on first. So this one works with Lion brand Wool Ease Thick and Quick, and you can use optional fur lining on it. This one has the fur lining, and this one does not. This is regular crochet. It's a ripple stitch, but it also has this nice detail of some texture to it, and it has a kind of a knit look to it. So let me show you what this looks like on. It's worked flat and it's joined at the end. It has this nice, this one has the fur lining, and that's optional. And I used the Lion Brand's faux fur yarn. And then this is the hat. The hat is actually, sorry, this is not worked flat. This is worked in the round, and so is the hat. So you don't have to sew it at the end. You just close up the hat at the end. So this is the hat. And, the pom-pom is optional. You put a pom-pom on or not. So I don't know about you guys, but I think this one is so pretty. I don't know if the lighting is showing it to you, but these colors are so like, winter wonderland kind of colors. It's the grays and cream colors. So I'll have a link to this one in the description below. And I have to tell you that I forgot to look up the exact name of some of these patterns before I started. There's so many things to remember before you start these lives, and that was one thing I forgot to do. But I'll have the name for it. It'll all be there for you. And if you're going onto my website or my YouTube channel, you'll see it. Just look up, I think when you get to the YouTube channel, you can just type in hat. And then on my website, you can just do the same thing, like hat and cowl, and it'll come up. So that's that one. This one doesn't come with a cowl, but I threw it in anyways because this is a popular hat that people like to make, and I wanted to show it to you in case there's anybody out there that hasn't seen it yet. This is called the Anastasia Shapka hat, and Anastasia is a Russian name, and Shapka means hat in Russian. So I always liked the look of those Russian fur hats, and so this one uses Lion brand Wool Ease Thick and Quick, and their go-to faux or I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's that new Lion brand faux fur yarn. And you can see it. I just love this hat. It's super comfortable, super warm because you got extra warmth around your ears and your forehead. And that's really easy. This is regular crochet. It's called the Anastasia Shapka hat, which is redundant because Shapka means hat, but not everybody knows that. Okay, so the next one, and this is actually the last one. That's one, two. Yeah, this is the fourth. This is the fourth set. This is the Tunisian Waves cowl and hat set. And this is the cowl. And this is a really cool wavy knit pattern. It's actually worked flat, and then you join it at the end, and it's worked back and forth this way. And it's kind of has like, it's really very interesting. I guess you would call, this is probably an intermediate pattern in Tunisian crochet. But after you've done a couple of my Tunisian crochet projects, you can probably jump in on this fairly quickly, because like in all my videos, I really walk you through everything step by step, so you can see how nice that is. It's so pretty. This yarn is Color Made Easy. So it's a number 5 weight yarn. It's a bulky yarn. And so this hat and cowl is, oops, I put it on backwards, is really nice and thick and warm. So sometimes when you're making stuff in crochet or knit, you know, if you also knit, the fabric can be kind of thin and not as warm as you might like. But in Tunisian crochet, it makes a thicker fabric. So it's great for hats and cowls. They're nice and cozy and warm, and it's great. So this one is, the hat is also worked flat, and it's worked back and forth like this. And then in the end, you cinch up, you seam it in the back, and then you cinch up the top. So it's fairly easy once you know Tunisian crochet. So that brings me to the end, where I'm going to tell you about something I learned this week, which is something about stories. So thank you, Brenda. Hello. And if anybody who's joining late, if you missed any of the patterns and discussions from earlier, this will be posted. You'll be able to watch the replay, and all the links will be in the descriptions, or in the descriptions on YouTube and on Instagram. The links will be, you'll go to my bio, and there's one link there. And when you click on that link, there's a bunch of other links. And there's even a search bar there too, so you can search for anything that I may have talked about. So the thing I want to talk about right now is stories. And our whole life is about stories, right? I mean, humanity loves listening to stories. We watch movies, we read books, we learn about history, and we love stories. We're fascinated by them. And our mind is fascinated by stories. And we spend a lot of time thinking about our own personal stories from the past, and also our projected or possible stories of the future. So the real main question to ask ourselves about stories is, do they empower us or do they weigh us down? So when you're talking about stories from the past, there can be stories where maybe bad things happened, or when you think about them, you perceive them as having been bad, you know. So maybe somebody did something to you and you felt like a victim, or some circumstance happened to you. Maybe you had an illness or something. And you can look at that story and see it through the lens of regret, or I was a victim. But we also have the potential to look at that story and say, to look at it differently. And when you look at it differently, you can say, you can look at it through the lens of forgiveness and the lens of what did I learn? So, whether somebody did something to you or maybe you did something wrong to somebody and you regret it and you feel shame or guilt about it. The way to change how you see that, to make it more of an empowering story from your past, is to look at it as a learning. We're always learning in this life, and mistakes, a better word for mistakes might be learning. So that's how I like to look at it, that mistakes there's no such thing as mistakes. They're really just places in your life where you learned. The thing is, in life, we learn on the job. You're not really given a manual for what's going to pop up in your day. We listen to other people's stories, and it gives us an indication of how we might handle things. But, oftentimes we have a tendency to really go into the heavy side of stories. So, and then also with future stories. So, the whole idea of this topic is, how can we have stories empower us? We're always going through stories in our mind. How can we have these stories empower us? So for past stories, if there's something bad, think about how you could have forgiveness. Think about what lessons you might have learned. For stories of the future, where we have some negative things there, you might be worried about some potential happening. You might have fear about something. You might have anxiety, just even general anxiety about the unknown. What's going to happen? What's going to happen with coronavirus? What's going to happen in the political landscape? What's going to happen in my family? And so on. Hi, Helen. Thanks for joining. And again, if you missed anything, you can watch the replay. And I hope that you do, because there was a lot of good stuff here today. So the idea is to then take those. So instead of worrying about, I have my notes here. Instead of worrying about what could go wrong, a really, really powerful question to have in your back pocket at all times is to ask yourself, what do I want to be true? So you might say, well, I want a good job, or I want a good relationship, whatever these things are. And you can name a million different things that you might want. Usually it's something that's outside of yourself. But if you get back to the core root of why you want that thing, it usually comes down to wanting happiness and peace and contentment and, joy, fulfillment in your life. So ask yourself that question, what do I want to be true? And focus on that. Focus on imagining that being true. Feel it right now in this moment. Feel what that would feel like if and when it's true. And instead of worrying about what might go wrong, tell yourself the story of what you want to be true instead, all the time. Over and over and over again. So instead of worrying about what might go wrong, over and over and over again, instead of regretting about the past over and over and over again, think about what you want to be true, and accept or know that it's possible, and just say, I'm going to have the patience and the perseverance to just keep going. And then also another thing is, if you get very caught up in stories, especially negative stories about, that you're worried about, a good tool is to come back to the present moment. And a really easy way to do that is to do kind of like a body scanning meditation. So just immediately just start with, one part of your body. And a good place to start is like with your feet. Put your feet on the ground and feel what it's like to have your feet on the ground. It sounds really simple. And, you might doubt its effectiveness, but just try it. So put all your attention into the bottom of your feet. Feel what that feels like. Take a deep breath. And then imagine, put your attention, your awareness, your focus on progressively different parts of your body all the way up. And you can go into, go to your feet, your toes, start with your toes. Imagine what it feels like underneath your toenails. Go into your heels and your ankles and your calves, your shins, your knees, your thighs. And you just progressively put your attention into those different parts of your body. Come all the way up through the organs in your torso, your shoulders, down your arms, into your hands, and really spend some time feeling your fingers and feeling if you really pay attention, you can even feel the pulsing of your pulse in your hands. In fact, if you do this a lot, another thing that you can notice is when you wake up in the morning, before you do anything else, don't touch your phone or anything, but you open your eyes and just look up at your ceiling, and you will notice in your field of vision your pulse. You will actually be able to see it ever so slightly in your eyes, in your vision, especially if you look at the ceiling and you're really very quiet that first thing in the morning. So you can do all that stuff. And then lastly, the thing is my sister gave me a call yesterday, and she said, I said, how's everything going? Everything okay? She's like, yeah. She goes, I thought of the funniest story from when we were younger, when we were like in our, I think it was even in our teens. There was this dance place that we went to. And so I have always, and still, I'm just like crazy for dancing. I love music and letting the music come through me. And it's almost like a drug to me. So she said, we went to this place, and she's like, do you remember we went to this place? And there was like these 3 dance floors, and they kind of had levels. And the coolest level was at the very top. And when you went to that very top level, it was so hot. It was like a sauna. And I was always trying to get, whoever I went with, whether it was my sister or my friends or whatever, I'd say, come on, let's go up to the top level. That's the coolest place, for the dancing. That's where everybody's like really mad into the dancing. So I would get my friends to go up there, my sister, and you'd be like sweating so much. So anyways, we went down and to probably get some water or something, because we were teenagers and they weren't, serving alcohol to us. And my sister said to me, she goes, I want to go home. She goes, my shirt is totally drenched. It is totally soaked all the way through. And I said, oh, no, 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 no. I said, you can have my shirt. I'll switch with you. I don't mind. So she probably, so the next thing we did was we did switch shirts. But I was saying to her, then I called her back and I said, that probably didn't go like I gave you that choice or that suggestion. And you were like, oh, okay. Knowing my sister, she was probably like, no, I don't want your shirt. But I probably convinced her because I was so crazed to keep dancing. I convinced her to switch shirts with me. And honestly, I have no idea how her shirt was soaking wet and mine wasn't. I don't even know how that's possible. But anyways, we went into the bathroom and we went into a stall together and we took off our shirts and we're mid like swapping shirts and we're just in our underwear, in our bras. And some woman come into the stall and I guess the lock didn't work and she came barging in and there we are, the two of us standing there like half naked, shirts off. And the woman was like, what? Anyways, it was a really funny moment and it was a really funny story. And I swear to God, I laughed so hard when my sister Ann told me about that yesterday. And it made me think of the fact that we need to do more of that we need to remember those funny stories more and lighten it up. We need to be more like we were in our youth. A few years ago, I had, I call it my health thing. I had breast cancer and surgery. And I had this really great doctor who helped me. He helped me the most. And he said, one thing that's really good to do for healing is to go think of a time in your life, usually in your youth, when you were really happy and on top of the world. Hello from Brazil. Hello. And so I'm talking about if you have a health issue. And this something good that this doctor told me. He said, think about a time when you had when you were really strong, you were really like on top of the world, you were invincible. And he said, play the music from that time in your life and listen to it all the time. And it will bring back those feelings of strength and happiness. Hi, Kathleen. And and those feelings of strength and happiness, when you reignite them through the music that you used to listen to at that time in your life, will help bring about healing. Your body will feel strong and then it acts strong. So that's something cool that you can do. And, along those lines, I think thinking about the funny stories from those times too is a good way to bring that, that joy and that happiness into the present moment and to like lighten ourselves up. Because I don't know about you, but I find that like being a grown up and an adult, it's like you have so many responsibilities that, sometimes I'll walk by a mirror and I'm like, oh my God, why are you so, got this real serious face on? And it's because I'm like trying to get everything done. And, we don't smile and laugh as much as when we were kids, but we could if we made it more of a habit. So I think that that's something to think about too, with regards to stories. So, and I do want to give a shout out to my sister because she is also a designer. She designs stuff for sewing. sewing patterns. So if you or somebody you know is also into sewing, I'll give you her Instagram and website to check out. And I will put a link in the description below as well. And also on my website, I'll put a link there too. Her name is Anne, and her Instagram handle is at Pattern Division. And her website is patterndivision.com. And she has 2 really cool, very simple dress patterns. And she also has this really cool pattern for shorts, and they're kind of like sleeping shorts. And then I think she has a doll pattern, like a fabric doll pattern on there as well. Yes. So check her out. And I'm actually thinking of maybe having her on the podcast soon if she's interested in doing that. So that's really all I have for you today. For those of you who joined late, I'll tell you what we covered so that if you want to go back and watch it, I covered this week's pattern and this week's and next week's pattern, which are the Tunisian fancy square and the Tunisian X's and O's. These are 2 more squares in the Tunisian squares series. And that's these squares. So you can go back and watch the replay on this, and you'll see the squares that I was talking about. I also talked about my crazy sweater, which is a sweater I made from a shawl that I gave up on, and I was turning it into a cowl cape, and I wasn't liking it that way. So then I was like, I'm going to make it into a crazy sweater, and I'll give you kind of a little sneak peek of that. So, and I tell you a little bit more about that in the beginning of this podcast. And then I also talked about the giveaway announcements. There's going to be 5 prizes. And then I covered hat and cowl patterns, hat and cowl sets. So take a look at that. And then I was talking today about stories and how they can either kind of disempower us or empower us, depending on how we look at them. The story doesn't have to change, but how we look at it can change, and that can make all the difference. So anyhow, that's all I have for you today. This was I was experimenting today with having a longer podcast, and I appreciate you joining me on both YouTube and Instagram. And if you missed anything, I hope you'll go back and watch the beginning. And I'll have links to everything below. Thank you so much for joining me. Please do say hi in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on the different things, especially the crazy sweater if you're interested in that as a pattern. And let me know any questions you have or things you'd like me to cover in the future. So thanks for joining, and I hope you guys have a great week. Bye-bye.